Hey everybody, I take you along on my summer trip to Oklahoma. I took my paramotor with me as I do on most vacations where I'm driving, and the weather, that opening scene there, got a little time-lapse video. Sometimes you get good flying weather and sometimes you don't. And one thing I find is if I take my motor and wing with me on a vacation trip like this, I was at the lake here for this footage, Lake Texoma, right on the Texas-Oklahoma border. If I take that with me, I kind of feel a bit of a pressure, if you will. Well, I always feel a pressure to fly if the weather's good, but just because I've hauled the motor and the wing with me, and it's taken up space on the trip, I think I'm a little bit more willing to push the weather windows. I'll get out on days that if I was just at home, I might not. Probably not a good thing, but I don't think I'm carrying it too far. But here's a day. I had just flown the evening before. It was a little bit rowdy that evening, nothing unsafe, but a little bit. And here I'm wanting to get up, and really, I think there's a little bit of me that wants to fly down to our campsite and maybe do a little showing off to all the family reunion, my wife's side of the family. And so you'll see, I'm going to get the motor started, get up into the air, and make one circle and basically decide this air was not for me. If you notice, I did a forward launch. It wasn't quite enough wind that I wasn't sure if I could do a reverse launch, but see the windsock back there, there was a pretty good little wind, probably 6, 7, maybe 8 miles an hour. I guess a reverse launch might have been possible. But anyway, I pulled the wing up, and I'm right next to the airport, little airstrip that's near Catfish Bay at Lake Texoma, which is what is that, roughly halfway between this town of Durant and Kingston, Oklahoma, I think. And you see the little airstrip, a little runway there to the right. And basically right about here, I'm getting bumped around a little bit. See me starting to turn and saying, I don't know if I'm going to do this. I'm kind of thinking about it, circling back. And at some point here, I decided to pull the trigger. The thinking was something along the lines of it's a morning flight, sunrise flight, and the air is not going to get better as I go further into the morning. It's probably just going to get worse. And if I'm already being bumped around, there's no sense in just having an unenjoyable flight. I'm at the lake with a bunch of family, and as much as I might want to get down there and show off, let they know I'm flying, but there's part of me wants them to see me in the air,
That air
and the
is
ones
not
that
for
haven't
me.
seen me flying. So instead, it's time to get back and have a little fun. Rented some jet skis, went out with my daughter,
Love you,
and
Rachel.
get out on the water. You see the weather got to us here in the water a little bit. We zoomed out over across the lake, and we could see some clouds developing off in the distance. But hey, we're getting wet anyway. So here's getting rained. It was kind of an experience for my daughter. I don't think she's ever really ridden a motorcycle. Back when I was young, rode a motorcycle, and if it's raining and your skin's exposed, you're not going to go very fast. So she learned a little bit about that
Encircled
in
by the
the
sharks.
on the jet ski. We had to kind of go slow while it was raining on us. Of course, she decides to do a little bit of circling me and trying to get me wet. And when she finally succeeded, figured it out.
Ah!
There's Brandon on the back
Got it.
having a good old time. So fast forward to the next day, watching the forecast. Winds look a little better forecast, and decided I'd have to try to get out and do it again. So lay the wing out. One thing about it at the lake, early morning, nobody's getting up early, so don't feel bad about leaving the family
It's gonna be a
behind
good
and getting
day.
out for an early flight. Expecting the winds and the air to be a little bit better. See, I had to run a little harder. quite a bit longer run before I can get off the ground, and almost a little bit extra steps there, so you can tell it was, I don't know if it's quite a nil wind launch, but pretty low wind. Took a good run to get off, and you know, had some beautiful scenery. You can see the lake. There's Roosevelt Bridge in the background, and just really nice scenery. And you can see, you'll see my wing rock back and forth a little bit here in a moment. Had a little bit of a surge, so the air wasn't just spectacular this particular morning. I actually had really spectacular air on the next day, and that's the day when I forgot to put a battery in my camera. So, and in fact, that was a day that had some seriously heavy low fog, or you could almost call them clouds. And I was in Class G airspace, so I could, you know, pretty far away from any major airport. I was in Oklahoma, so not near the Houston Intercontinental airspace, and I was able to just skim right across the top of the clouds or the fog, and just had a glory at a fairly low altitude, you know, like 1,000 feet or less, and just had a great flight that particular day. But of course, that's the day I forgot to put a battery in my camera. It's kind of the way it goes. But anyway, we'll finish this one up. This is the last flight I took at Lake Texoma near the Catfish Bay. You can see he did a couple S-turns, come in for a nice little bit of a higher speed, a little bit of a foot drag on the landing, and bring the wing down. So hopefully you guys enjoyed my little tale of taking my gear with me on a trip to the lake in Oklahoma. And fly safe, everybody. Until the next one, have a good one.